So after I put up last week's video, I had a bit of an emotional crisis over what I thought was a terrible video and terribly edited, and I didn't like the way it came out, blah, 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 blah. So I thought this week we would talk about this book, Art and Fear. Ooh, in the light. I've read this book several times, and I don't know how many of you are actually artists, but I'm going to assume everyone is. Anyone creating stuff and having angst or doubts about it should really read this. It's written by David Bales and Ted Orland. And I'm going to read you a little part about doubts. They mentioned something in this book that I thought was a little heartbreaking, but interesting, which is that 98% of art students do not continue to make art after school. Or I think it says 5 years after graduation. I thought that was kind of sad, and I didn't realize that number. And I thought, if any of you were artists who may have fallen off the wagon, I wanted to share this with you. On page 12, there's something called the Operating Manual for Not Quitting. I'll give you a close-up in a second. Step 1. Make friends with others who make art and share your in-progress work with each other frequently. Step 2. Learn to think of step 1 rather than the Museum of Modern Art, for example, as the destination for your work. Look at it this way: if all goes well, the Museum of Modern Art will eventually come to you. Common doubts being, I'm not an artist, I am a phony. I have nothing worth saying. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Other people are better than I am. I'm only a student, or a physicist, or a mother, or whatever. And if making art gives substance to your sense of self, the corresponding fear is that you're not up to the task. That you can't do it, or can't do it well, or can't do it again, or that you're not a real artist, or not a good artist, or have no talent, or have nothing to say. The line between artist and her work is a fine one at best, and for the artist it feels quite naturally like there is no such line. Making art can feel dangerous and revealing. Making art is dangerous and revealing. Making art precipitates self-doubt, stirring deep waters that lay between what you know you should be and what you fear you might be. For many people, that alone is enough to prevent them from ever getting started at all. And for those who do, trouble isn't long in coming. I have doubts. I always have doubts. They suck, actually. They give me panic attacks and make me cry, and it's kind of bullshit, and I don't like it. But I'm starting to realize that the work that I make after one of these upsetting, doubt-filled episodes is better than the work I was making before, even if it's only by a tiny little bit. And today I was writing in my sketchbook about the pillars of what I consider the conceptual framework for my work. And I'm not going to talk about all of them, but one of them that applies to this is making things that are destination aware. As in work me to inoculate me against quitting due to its structure, due to using ongoing, social, dynamic, and self-assembling display platforms. So basically that just means the internet, right? So social platforms, YouTube and Tumblr and Twitter and my website, and now GitHub. If you want to see the first website ever made with actual code, you can go check me out on GitHub and fork my amazing glitched out horse VR website that I made this week. But you know me, I'm all for a little overanalyzation. So where do these fears come from in the first place? Page 14. Fears arise when you look back. They arise when you look ahead. If you're prone to disaster fantasies, you may even find yourself caught in the middle, staring at your half-finished canvas and fearing both that you lack the ability to finish it and that no one will understand it if you do. More often, though, fears rise in those entirely appropriate and frequently reoccurring moments when vision races ahead of execution. Consider the story of the young student who began piano studies with a master. After a few months' practice, David lamented to his teacher that I can hear the music so much better in my head that I can get out with my fingers. To which the master replied, "What makes you think that ever changes? That's why they're called masters." When he raised David's discovery from the expression of self-doubt to a simple observation of reality, uncertainty became an asset. Lesson for the day. Vision is always ahead of execution. And it should be. Vision, uncertainty, and knowledge of materials are inevitabilities that all artists must acknowledge and learn from. Vision is always ahead of execution. Knowledge of materials is your contact with reality, and uncertainty is a virtue. I like to read this book to remind me that when I'm scared, it's worth something. White people dancing and no music.